Do you know what might be sitting in your freezer right now, looking perfectly harmless, easy, even comforting, while quietly working against your body after 60? I want to talk about that today because frozen foods can either become one of your greatest allies in healthy aging or one of the easiest ways to fill your body with sodium, sugar, inflammatory oils, and empty calories that make everything feel harder than it needs to. And I say that with care, not judgment. I understand convenience. I understand standing in the kitchen at the end of the day and thinking, I just need something easy. I understand the comfort of knowing there is food in the freezer that requires very little effort. After 60, energy can feel less predictable. Cooking can feel more tiring. Appetite can come and go, and the freezer starts to feel like safety. But here is the truth no one explains clearly enough. Not all frozen foods are equal. Some are built to support the body. Others are built to sell convenience and flavor without much care for what the aging body actually needs. And your body now has different needs than it did decades ago. It needs more protein, more nutrient density, more stable blood sugar, more digestive support, more help protecting muscle, bones, brain, and heart, and much less of the highly processed burden that so many frozen foods carry. So today I want to walk you through 4 frozen foods I would be very cautious about after 60, and then 4 frozen foods that can truly become powerful allies in this season of life. And by the end, I want you to feel more confident every time you open your freezer door. Let's begin with one of the biggest problems hiding in plain sight: frozen pizza. I know this one may sting a little, because frozen pizza is easy, familiar, and comforting. It feels like the perfect backup plan when you're tired or simply don't want to cook. But for the body after 60, frozen pizza can create a whole cluster of problems at once. The first is sodium. Most frozen pizzas are loaded with it. And after 60, the kidneys do not handle excess sodium as efficiently as they once did. That means more water retention, more bloating, more blood pressure strain, and more burden on a cardiovascular system that deserves extra support at this stage of life. Then there is the crust. Refined carbohydrates do not land the same way they used to. Blood sugar tends to rise faster and stay elevated longer in older adults, especially if insulin sensitivity is already declining. So what looks like an easy dinner can become a blood sugar spike followed by a crash, more fatigue, more inflammation, and more cravings later. And then there are the toppings. Processed meats like pepperoni and sausage add even more sodium, preservatives, and inflammatory compounds. And still, in spite of all those calories, frozen pizza often does not provide nearly enough high-quality protein to support muscle preservation. That is one of the biggest problems after 60. Meals can no longer just fill you up. They need to help protect your strength. And frozen pizza often gives the body a lot to process with very little real nourishment in return. Now let's move to another frozen category people often underestimate: frozen breakfast pastries, toaster pastries, sugary waffles, strudels, sweet breakfast pockets. These may seem quick and harmless, especially on mornings when you feel low on energy or simply do not feel like preparing something substantial. But for older adults, they are often one of the worst ways to begin the day. Why? Because they are basically sugar and refined flour dressed up as breakfast. They create a rapid blood sugar rise, and after 60, those rises hit harder. Then comes the crash: hunger, shakiness, irritability, fatigue, brain fog, cravings, and suddenly the rest of the day starts from a place of instability. I think this is such an important point. Morning food matters. Not because you need a perfect breakfast, but because the body benefits enormously from steady energy and real nourishment early in the day. Starting with sugar, processed oils, and almost no meaningful protein makes that much harder. And there is another quiet danger here. If you begin the day with foods like this regularly, you train your appetite toward quick reward and away from nourishment. That makes the rest of the day harder too. Now let's talk about a freezer category that creates what I would call a perfect storm of inflammation. Frozen fried foods. Chicken nuggets, fish sticks, French fries, onion rings, mozzarella sticks. These foods are everywhere because they are easy, salty, satisfying, and familiar. But after 60, they can become especially rough on the body. Commercial frying oils are often highly processed. The breading is usually refined flour mixed with additives. Then the food is frozen, stored, reheated, and consumed in a form that is dense in calories but low in real nourishment. That matters because the body's anti-inflammatory defenses are not what they once were. So foods like these can contribute to more joint pain, more stiffness, more digestive heaviness, more sluggishness, more brain fog, and more metabolic strain than people realize. They are also very easy to overeat without truly feeling nourished. You can consume a large amount and still not give your muscles, bones, or brain what they actually need. And once again, sodium shows up here too, pushing blood pressure and fluid balance in the wrong direction. Now let's talk about something many people use for comfort, especially in the evening. Frozen desserts and commercial ice cream. I am not talking about the occasional celebration or treat. I am talking about habitual use, the nightly dessert, the frozen comfort food that becomes a routine because it is easy and soothing. I understand the emotional pull of that. Sometimes sweetness feels like one of the last simple pleasures when energy is low and life feels heavy. But regular frozen desserts can be especially hard on the body after 60. They are often loaded with sugar, stabilizers, artificial ingredients, and low-quality fats. That combination can destabilize blood sugar, increase inflammation, worsen cravings, affect the gut, and leave the body feeling more burdened than comforted. There is also the sleep issue. Many people over 60 already struggle with sleep quality, and finishing the evening with a heavy, sugary dessert can make that even worse. So again, the issue is not never enjoy anything. The issue is not letting comfort quietly become a daily drain. Now let's turn to the much better news, because I never want to leave you with only what to avoid. The freezer can absolutely become one of the smartest tools you have after 60. The first frozen food I want you to think much more highly of is frozen wild-caught fish. This is one of the best freezer staples for healthy aging. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and other fatty fish bring together two things older adults deeply need: high-quality protein and omega-3 fats. Protein supports muscle, and after 60, protecting muscle is not optional. It is tied to strength, balance, metabolism, bone support, and independence. Omega-3 fats help support the brain, the heart, and inflammation balance, which are three areas that matter enormously in this season of life. I also love frozen fish because it is practical. You can keep it on hand without worrying that it will spoil before you use it. And when fish is frozen properly, it can be just as supportive and sometimes more reliable than fish labeled fresh that has already spent too long traveling and sitting around. The second frozen food I love is frozen berries. This surprises some people, but frozen berries can be one of the smartest daily foods for older adults. They are convenient, naturally sweet, rich in fiber, and full of protective plant compounds that support the brain, immune system, blood vessels, and overall healthy aging. Blueberries are especially wonderful for supporting memory and mental sharpness. Strawberries bring vitamin C. Mixed berries offer variety. And because they are frozen at peak ripeness, they often preserve nutrients beautifully. They are also far more practical than fresh berries for many people. They do not spoil quickly. You can keep them on hand. You can stir them into yogurt, oatmeal, or smoothies, or simply thaw a portion for a snack or dessert. That is the kind of convenience I want for you. Convenience that helps. The third freezer ally is frozen vegetables. And I want to say this clearly. Frozen vegetables are not a second-rate choice. In many cases, they are a very smart choice. Frozen broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, spinach, kale, and mixed vegetables can make it dramatically easier to build nutrient-dense meals without waste, stress, or complicated preparation. And after 60, that matters. Because many people are not under-eating calories. They are under-eating nutrients. The key is choosing simple versions. No heavy sauces, no unnecessary sodium, no ingredients list that reads like a chemistry set. Just real vegetables. Those vegetables can then become the base of soups, stir-fries, omelets, side dishes, or quick lunches. They give your body vitamins, minerals, fiber, and color without making healthy eating feel exhausting. And finally, I want to talk about one of the most underrated freezer items for older adults: bone broth. A good frozen bone broth can be a beautiful ally after 60. It offers easy nourishment, protein-building compounds, collagen support, minerals, and something many older adults need more of: food that feels gentle on the stomach while still giving the body something useful. That matters on days when appetite is low, digestion is tender, chewing feels tiring, or you simply want something warm and nourishing without a lot of effort. Bone broth can be used as a base for soups, to cook grains, or simply sipped warm between meals. And there is also something emotionally soothing about that. It feels supportive in a deep, simple way. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a much wiser view of the freezer. The freezer itself is not the problem. Mindless convenience is the problem. Because once you choose frozen foods that actually fit the needs of the aging body, the freezer becomes a tool for strength instead of decline. So if I were to summarize this as simply as possible, I would say this: be very cautious with frozen pizza, frozen breakfast pastries, frozen fried foods, and commercial frozen desserts as regular habits. And build your freezer instead around frozen wild-caught fish, frozen berries, frozen vegetables, and good bone broth. Those choices support protein. They support the brain. They support steadier energy. They support healthier aging in a way the ultra-processed convenience foods simply do not. And the best part is that this does not require a dramatic life overhaul. It just requires better defaults. A piece of fish and vegetables instead of pizza. Berries and yogurt instead of a sugary frozen breakfast. Bone broth instead of a late-night frozen snack. A freezer that helps you instead of quietly working against you. That is the kind of change that compounds over time. Small choices, repeated often. That is where so much health is built. Age is just the beginning. And one of the kindest things you can do for yourself now is make convenience work for your body, not against it. You have spent your whole life caring for others. It is time to care for yourself too. So the next time you open your freezer, do not just ask, "What is easy?" Ask, "What will actually support me?" Because what you keep within reach becomes part of the life you are building day by day. And sometimes a wiser, stronger next chapter begins with something as ordinary as what you choose to freeze.